everyone, and welcome to our latest edition of the IQ Media Hub Masterclass. This is where me, Madeline White, I come onto your screens each month with a guest to share some insights into the industry and ultimately help you be more innovative. That is the goal of IQ Media Hub. I am lucky to be here with Alex today. Alex works at Norkon, which is a brilliant technology vendor for digital publishers. And I'll leave Alex to describe the company, but I'd say we're good friends now. We've partnered for a while, and
Yes.
Norkon are a great solution for publishers to increase engagement, but not only that, to move readers through the funnel and to monetize your audiences as well. So, Alex, maybe I'll pass over to you to tell us a bit more about the company.
Sure. Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really nice to be here with you. And so let me tell you a little bit more about what we do at Norkon here. So we're actually coming out of Oslo, Norway, but we're very lucky to be working with news organizations across the globe, really, ranging from public broadcasters to media conglomerates to financial newspapers and even sports and betting organizations. So it's really exciting. And essentially, we're very much into live data and live technology. We have a live blogging solution to help publishers break news as fast as possible. But then we also have like two other solutions which are more directed towards the financial area and which are around live stock market data. Let's go back to live blogging and breaking live news.
Yeah, so live blogging is the topic we're going to be focusing on today. And firstly, why should you listen to this? I think let's talk about that. Why should someone who's on the other side of this screen, why should they be interested in live blogging?
That's a very good question. So, essentially, a live blog is a continuously updated digital article, which is ideal for like breaking news or covering sports events or politics and elections, for example, or if you have any urgent or ongoing events and you'd want to cover this with updates as it evolves. So I would say, characteristics of a live blogs are short form updates, enabling minute by minute reporting, but also have updates that follow a chronological order.
Maybe you can, I know we've got this example up. Maybe you could show us this kind of in action.
Exactly. So here is a really nice example, which is happening at the moment in Australia, where they are having some elections and votes coming up. And so here on the front page, you can see in the blue highlighted section that this is a live blog. So let's just have a real quick look at how this looks like. So first of all, you can notice here on the side there's a timeline, which is super interesting because it's highlighting the key events. So in case you wanted to move forward to one particular section, you could do that very easily. Also, what I really like here is that you have a submit or a comment or a question. Very nice here that you have some sort of a call to actions here already to drive a registration. And what's also cool is I can see here immediately, okay, I completely missed the beginning of this event. Why don't I just reverse the chronology and then check at what's happening first? So this is really exciting, especially for like latecomers or people who haven't followed the event at all. They can just jump in and then read everything from the beginning if they wanted to. And here we see a little bit how the live blog is structured. We see their regular updates. It's very nice here that we actually see who the journalist was. And I haven't seen this very often, actually, that there's like icon and a reaction option, which I think is super nice. It's really mimicking a little bit the social media elements. So that is fantastic. And of course, you can embed, for example, other types of content, for example, your gated articles, or I had already seen it sometimes like a podcast or download your app.
What I love is within this single example, there are so many best practices that are, like you mentioned, mimicking social media in the way that it's engaging readers in an interactive way, but also almost providing this scrolling motion that you can go through, follow like the latest updates like you do on Instagram, for instance, but it's all by this trusted source on their website. So it's on platform, which is firstly, I guess, the foundation of this strong strategy. It's adapting to the reader, so the reader can change what order they want to see it in. I love that timeline on the right, and that's sticky on the page. Then it's also encouraging interactions. Like you're encouraged to react and give your opinion almost through an emoji on that story. It's not just one way, kind of like print, where you print something out and you hand it to your reader. It's almost creating that two-way conversation. And like you said, there's even that moving readers through the funnel with their registrations and encouraging commenting, which is that next step of community building.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you just touched on something that's also very interesting. It's, of course, through these reactions, you're obviously engaging your audience. So it's like, oh, okay, I really want to click here. I can't because I would have to sign up first. And I
Yeah.
don't have an account in the Australian news business right now, but why not? But it's true. It's really like pushing you to react, and that's super nice.
Mm. And more than that, I think it's a way for their journalists to see what's interesting to their readers. If one kind of comment, one post has got more reactions and more created more discussion than other posts, then that's something that maybe should be worth writing an article about. Or I forgot to mention before, like they've got recirculation as well. I mean, that's incredibly important, bringing people back to other articles, keeping them on the site for as long as possible.
Yeah, and I think you also just mentioned something super important. Is of course, if I'm really interested in this topic, then of course I will return to this page to see the latest updates, right?
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, live blogs are also really a great tool to bring back readers to particular pages. So dwell time has definitely been a metric we've been following very
Mm.
nearly. And yeah, returning visitors for sure.
From this, it sounds like it's hitting almost every metric on that throughout that engagement funnel or throughout that reader funnel. You've got acquiring new readers and keeping them on the site, bringing them back, engaging them on site, getting them involved in the community, registration, and then ultimately, I guess this is valuable for subscribers as well, and potentially promoting premium content that is showing that quality that's worth subscribing for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also app downloads actually. So
Okay.
I just remembered now that we, not too long ago when the US elections happened, we were just deploying the live blogging tool on a US news outlet. And just before the election, really. And then they pushed out the live results into their mobile app, and that again then, encouraged more app downloads as things were happening. So it was quite impressive to see that live blogs in combination with mobile app downloads work really well.
Mm.
I think they had like a 35% increase in app download just during that week, or something quite amazing. Yeah.
And I imagine live blogs work really well on app as well because it's, well, like we were talking about social media, it's quite a mobile action or a mobile way of consuming content is by scrolling. And do a lot of publishers link their live blogs with push notifications, for instance?
That's a good question. I think that really depends on the publisher.
Hmm.
Sometimes, there's this little window appearing, pop up saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, we want to push notifications." But I would say, I think it's a different technology. Of course, you can
Mm.
combine both, but I'm not entirely sure, I must say.
Yeah. No, of course. Maybe it's more on app. But then moving down the funnel, what's the impact you're seeing on subscription and registration on these kind of formats?
So that's a very good question, and we get asked that a lot because the thing is, it's really hard to track
Mm,
what
of course.
traffic comes, let's say, from the live blog versus other pieces of content, right? But what we've seen is that there's sort of a triangle of metrics which ultimately lead to subscription conversion. And that is, of course, frequency, volume, and recency. From that perspective, live blogs come in really handy because they really check all those three boxes. You update frequently, the content is always fresh, and then the volume really depends on your coverage. But with any breaking news or even everlasting topics, it's a very good tool to use. Ultimately, if you do implement a live blogging strategy, it's bound to at some point, influence your readers and hopefully also support any subscription strategies.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's about increasing engagement and frustrating your reader just the right amount to move them through the funnel. And I know some publishers, for instance, their comment section is only for subscribers. So
Yes.
maybe this Australian example, it's registered users, but could be subscribers, and that's the frustration in this content.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's when I asked the question the other day to La Presse in Canada, they were saying that actually they're sort of obliged to do this because of Canadian law. And
Mm.
that is saying that even if it's a user contribution, if it's on your website, you're responsible for the text there.
Yes,
So
okay.
I
Interesting.
understand that there's also a little bit, you want to protect yourself and ensure that things that are published on your live blog are actually okay. And
Yeah. Someone else told me that. That's scary. I think
yeah,
I'm not sure I
yeah.
trust readers.
Well, I mean, of course it depends on the topics, but I can imagine for like sports or football matches that some people get very
Yeah,
passionate and maybe
passionate about
angry
it.
about. So.
Today you're going to be running us through best practices, am I right? And a workshop that people can use to better implement and succeed with their live blogging.
Yes, that's correct. All right, let me switch over to the masterclass presentation. So let's take the example of your newsroom planning to break a big story. So today's objective is to understand how to use live blogs effectively for fast publishing, SEO, revenue, and reader loyalty. We're going to very briefly jump into what a live blog is. We sort of covered that already, but there were some nice examples I wanted to show you. And then we're going to continue and we're going to look into how we can achieve numerous goals with a live blogging strategy, such as we want it to be seen. How are we going to get eyeballs and ensure that the coverage is ranking high and break news at speed? And then the goal number 2 would be we want our audience to get actively involved, to care about our news brand. So how could we achieve this? For example, to open a two-way communication. And goal number 3, we want our live blogging strategy to contribute to our revenue stream, ideally obtain more subscribers. So we will look into some examples there. First off, we already covered what a live blog is. Really anything that needs to be communicated as fast as possible to local audiences or national readers or entire populations. Here's some really nice examples of how live blogs can really give a look and feel of social media feeds and replicating similar interactive elements. It really encourages real-time interaction with readers. And as we've seen already, it encourages returning visits for latest updates. Here's some great examples. Usually it is best practice to have your live blog quite upfront on your homepage. So we've already seen how they do this at the ABC News Australia. Here's another example of Sky News UK, and one here from Norway, from Dagens Næringsliv. And very often those live blogs are indicated either with a red live box you can see here, or some sort of a label saying now or latest updates. So it's really going to catch your reader's attention immediately. I wanted to share here one insight from this Norwegian publication. So they are one of the leading financial news outlets here in Norway. And when we asked them how do they implement live blogs and how does this fit into their strategy, the target group manager at DN, Marit, she shared that as a newspaper, DN is really aiming to provide exclusive investigative articles and be the best in breaking news. They know very well that a full article takes a lot of time to produce, but they also need to publish something at all time. And that's where live blog come in, because it allows them to constantly publish a kind of a just the facts news flash and create a sense of something new happening every time. So readers always get something new when they visit their site. Now let's pause for a moment and look at this small practical exercise. Take a current news story or event and outline how you would cover it. Think about the tone, the update cadence, and what type of media you would include. So typically, with a live blog, publishers adopt a conversational tone, which really helps to build trust. We've seen in the previews before that it's a good idea to include various media formats to enrich the storytelling and also to create an immersive effect and provide a sense of being there. Right, here is a very quick preview of how you would deploy your live blog in your newsroom to cover a breaking story within just a few minutes. Using a CMS, in this example, I'm using ArcXP. So let me show you how this could look like. One way would be to log into your live blogging platform. Here it's Live Center. And you just create your live blog channel. Today's live news or live blog. And it's ready for your story. Or you could go into your CMS and into your page. You would just insert your live blogging tool. And here again, either you can create a new channel or pick one which you had already prepared. Then you write in your title, breaking news, a bit of a text, and off it goes. Pretty smooth. So now that we've seen how this works, how do we attract readers to our live blog? So we're gonna tackle SEO and speed of breaking news. I'd like to share a story here because what happened to TV New Zealand is something, or a challenge rather, that we see very often with other media publishers as well. So what happened was that TV New Zealand used standard article templates to cover news and events. And that means that the team had to republish the articles after each update. So there were a number of issues with this. Audiences couldn't be directed to specific sections on the article page. And large videos and social media posts or other media embeds slowed down the loading time of the page. And then readers also sometimes missed an update if they hadn't refreshed the page. So that's when TV New Zealand decided to go ahead and find a live blogging solution. And that's where we started to collaborate. TVNZ observed a higher rate of returning visitors with their live blog compared to traditional news articles. Readers checked in multiple times for the latest updates, and individual sessions on live blogs were short, yet the format encourages repeated visits. That makes perfect sense. Then we looked at the statistics and we saw that a normal live blog attracts around 15,000 unique visitors, but a live blog covering a big event drew up to 150,000 unique visitors. And then SEO-wise, TVNZ shared that their live blogs rank amongst their top performing content, and they became a significant source of web traffic for their news site, One News. So this is very interesting. Then we asked our good friend here, Barry Adams, who is an SEO expert, and he explained that news publishers are in a unique position because Google wants to crawl newly published articles very quickly, within a few minutes of their publication. Of course, this is in Google's interest because Google wants to be able to serve the latest news and updates as well when they are searched for. So that's great. But then the question is, why didn't TV New Zealand succeeded in the first place with their standard articles? Well, the reason is, actually there were many more elements, but I just chose to pick the 3 top factors. There's a thing called Google Live Blogs Posting Schema, and that is a structured data markup that will tell search engines that this is not a static article, but a live blog that is continuously going to be updated. And that triggers search engines to frequently recrawl your live blog. So that's the first reason why news live blogs are treated differently by search engines than other types of articles. Then the second reason is really content freshness. So timely and regular updates are usually favored by search engines, especially for news-related queries. And there, as we discussed already, live blogs is, of course, that's the bread and butter and the entire purpose of using a live blog. It is to provide latest updates very fast. Then the third point is user engagement metric. So that means that search engines are looking at how users behave on your page. What the click-through rate is, what the bounce rate is, the dwell time, all of those things are indicating to search engines if your content is relevant and of good quality. So returning visitors dwelling often on your site, potentially scrolling down or reading more, is a very good metric. From that perspective, again, live blogs are very conveniently ticking those boxes as well. Here's a very interesting story which happened to Sky News when the assassination attempt happened on Mr. President Donald Trump. So Sky News was the first newspaper in the world to cover the story, including all of the US networks. And the live blog editor, you can see him here, Jimmy Rice, he explained in an interview that it was very easy for them to just spin up their live blog within a few minutes from his living room, and that speed had a really great impact on SEO. And he said within a few minutes he could see 120,000 concurrent visits to the live blog from Google alone, and 100,000 of those were actually new users and mainly originating from the US. So this is just to say that really, if you're doing your SEO optimization correctly, it can have a huge impact, especially if you're first to publish your news. So let's talk a bit about audience engagement. So live blogs really encourage audience engagement, and they are a great way to open up a two-way communication and build direct relationship. How is this happening? So there are 3 options typically. One is for you as a journalist or newsroom to enable comments on your live blog. The other one is to enable questions so that you can have a real conversation. And the third is, of course, to embed any tools that can be third-party tools like polls, quizzes, surveys. Whatever you're already using can easily be embedded in your live blog. Here's a quick video which I created not too long ago, so I thought it could be very interesting to really show you the difference between questions and comments and how would you even moderate all of this. So let's take a quick look. So here you can see that comments are post related and will appear under a post, whereas questions are on a blog level and will appear chronologically. And as a journalist or in your newsroom, you would just check your settings first. And that's where you can also decide if you want to require email address submissions. Here we go. Sending in the question. And on the other side, this is how you would review and approve your questions. So you can either publish them immediately, assign them to somebody in your team, and then you can always check what's still pending and what's already approved. And you would just, once published, answer the question. And as you can already see on the right hand, it really looks like a discussion. You even have some nice stats here to show you how many you actually published and answered. So good job. All right, so I was going to show you very briefly how some of our existing customers are using those features. So for example, here, I already mentioned them before, La Presse in Canada, they want to really nurture conversation with their readers and explain to them why a particular event is important and how it affects them. So Live Center, or the live blogging platform in this case, serves as their most direct communication channel with their readers. And you have here an example of how users are interacting. Then another really cool example, which I really like, is coming from Denmark, from Berlinske. They've been really ramping up their live blogging efforts, and they've seen a 20 to 30% increase in overall traffic and higher user engagement through those interactive features. So that's very cool to see. What they did here in this example, you can see, is that they actually organized a live Q&A. So what is that? A live Q&A is a live blog that you would set up and then invite your readers over to participate. For example, you would bring on an expert who would then answer the questions from the audience. So this is what you could say it's like an online kind of event. So that's why we call it live Q&A. And here's another example from TVNZ, who did a similar format. And they've all been very successful in engaging their readers through this format. So that's very cool. Okay, so here's the next exercise for you. Imagine you're covering a major football match. What interactive features would you want to include, and how would you fill the mid-match gap? I can add here that some publishers invite their audience to tune into their podcast, which might be just released or might be recorded in live with somebody from the football team or from the stadium directly, or maybe head coach assistant or whatever. So something that is super relevant and on the topic. That is another way to introduce further content from your site into your live blog and keep your audience engaged while they're waiting for the match to continue. Great, let's go into the last section, driving revenue, and how would we do this with live blogs. So there are actually 4 ways where live blogs really help publishers to increase revenue. Of course, advertisement, that's almost a given. Then there's affiliate revenue, betting, which we're going to dive into, and brand loyalty. So here in this example, you can see on the left that there has been a bit of a sponsor takeover, so to say. So you have the live blog in the middle. You can see the timestamps and the chronological order, and you can see on each side that the ad is showing. That makes a lot of sense if you match the relevance of your live blog with the advertiser's offer. For example, a housing or a banking ads would make a lot of sense on financial live blogs, for example. Or if you have a sports live coverage or Olympic coverage, then it makes a lot of sense to have sports ads around it, right? So it's a great way to really offer your sponsor some great exposure to the audience that is really relevant for their brand. And then on the right side, you can see display ads on top. That is quite common. But what you can also see are in-feed ads. That's what we call when an ad appears within the live feed. So it's up to you as a publisher to decide how often you would like to show an ad, maybe after every 4th or 6th post. That's really up to you. But it's definitely contributing to your revenue per page due to the fact that the audience is coming back frequently to check for the latest updates. Here's another example for affiliate revenue. Some publishers already do this quite a lot. So where they cover a commercial event like Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday deals, and they promote the sponsored content throughout their coverage. And what's interesting here on the right side, according to the International News Media Association, 50% of the readers actually engaged with the content based on GQ's recommendations. So it is a powerful way to effectively increase your revenue. Now here's a third option, obviously that will apply more to newspapers who are covering the sports and betting world. What we've observed is that live content is really a trigger for placing bets because you're reporting directly from the event and providing real-time updates. So in this case here, Rikstoto is a horse racing and betting site, and they witnessed an increase in betting percentage as a direct result of utilizing live blogs to report directly from the horse racing track. So that's a very interesting use case you can apply across other sports and betting types. Now, here the fourth point is how live blogs can be leveraged as a strategic asset to introduce your readers to your in-depth content. So while some publishers add links to maybe podcasts or gated articles in the live feeds, others are also prompting their audiences to take action and, for example, download the app, which you can see here in the Sky example. And here on the right, you also get a little trigger to sign up for the newsletter. And there's also a link to the podcast. So it's a very nice way to encourage readers to read up more on a specific topic and dive a bit more into the content. Here's one example which I mentioned previously in my conversation with Madeleine, which occurred with the Minnesota Star Tribune. For the US election, Star Tribune was able to push live election results, which they covered in the live blog, directly into their mobile app. And this was the first time that they provided this type of experience. And the results were quite amazing. So they were able to witness over 174% mobile screen views increases. And they also saw over 35% increase in app users during the election week. That's really, really fantastic. Another report actually mentioned I think it was a report from Mather Economics. They actually mentioned that Star Tribune ranked as the US publication which had engaged its audience the most in 2024 in the US. So well done, Minnesota Star Tribune. Here's another exercise for you, probably the last before we part. So if you think about an upcoming event for your newsroom, it can be sports or election or a local news. Here are some good ideas for you to do. First, you should write up your live blog plan and decide who is updating this, who is responsible to live blog. Come up with an SEO structure and headline and introduce one engagement idea as well as monetization opportunities. So this is the end of the masterclass. But before you go, final words of wisdom from Jody Hopperton, who is the product and tech lead at the International News Media Association. When we had a conversation with her just a few months ago, and when we asked her what does she recommend to news publishers to succeed, is she highly recommends that every single person in the organization needs to be super aligned and work towards the same articulated goals. And to give you a bit of more context, we discussed that many publishers, they do their job how they used to do it. They think that what they're doing is very good and it's been working for so many years. But really, it really helps to think about what is the objective of the news brand and will my initiative or will my activity contribute to this objective? So thank you so much. I sincerely hope that you found those insights useful, and I'm wishing you good luck with your next live coverage. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alex.
It's very exciting. I mean, thank you again for, for the opportunity to talk about live blogs.
Bye. Yeah, and you have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.